What happens when Torah directives are in conflict, particularly within the same mitzvah? This is what we have by Shmitta. Shmitta appears at the beginning of our Parsha, and it's referred to as a Shabbat. V'shavta haaretz Shabbat laHashem, a year of rest. You work 6 days and you rest on the 7th. You work 6 years and you rest on the 7th, or you allow the land to rest for the 7th year. In contrast, in Shemot, it is referred to as Shmitta. Shmitta means a release. You release the produce to the poor. You allow the poor to eat from what grows during that year, something not mentioned in our Parsha. Now, both of those are beautiful ideas. The first is an idea of recognizing God, an idea maybe of a Shnat Shabbaton, a sabbatical, devoting it to higher purposes, to recognizing the land, agricultural oriented. And the second is an idea of social justice, of closing the income and the wealth gap. But they don't exactly work together, because if you're not working the land, the poor have very little to eat. Ideally, you would work the land and give it to the poor. Not clear what the incentive would be, but that's what ideally you should do. Interestingly, the rabbis recognized this. And the rabbis said that when they came into the land in the time of Ezra, they specifically did not sanctify sections of the land, so Shmitta would not apply. And because Shmitta would not apply, the poor actually had more to eat. Because of the Meiser gifts and the other type of gifts to the poor, they were better off without Shmitta. So these conflicting directives resolve themselves in Shmitta in part of the land and not in another part of the land, so that the poor actually would be better off. In a similar way, Rav Kook had to decide, what do we do with the land of Israel and the Yishuv, and how are the people going to be provided for during the Shemitah year? And his solution was, recognize the sanctity of the land and recognize that there's a way you can sell it, which allows it to be worked. You acknowledge v'shavta haaretz, the mitzvah of Shemitah, and that aspect, the divine mandate, and you also recognize the other divine mandate that turns to the needs of the people. And this is how the rabbis have always worked. When there's a conflict between the two, they do not allow the ones that are more what we'll call religiously oriented aspects to override our concern with our fellow human beings, which is also part of the divine mandate. Shabbat Shalom.